What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to sit down and discuss what I think are the best palettes of the year 2020. I kept the number very small because I wanted to talk about the best of the best of the best in my humble opinion. I am doing this video in two parts. Part 2 is going to be the worst palettes of 2020, but we're going to tackle the best ones first. I'm not going to rank these in any particular order. I'm just going to kind of discuss what I like about them and why. I'm going to list all the palettes down below in the order that I talk about them so that you can reference it if you want to. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoy it because it would really help me out and I would really appreciate it, and I think that it is a good way to let me know that you like this kind of video. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. Generally speaking, I do looks with all of these palettes before I give my opinion on them, which I think lends my opinion a tiny bit more credence, you know? And I'd love to have you here for both of those things. Merch is linked in the description and in the carousel down below. I think that's all you need to know before we get into it. So let's talk about what I thought were the best palettes of the year 2020. The first one, this might actually be my actual favorite palette of 2020. I feel like I've said 2020 too many times already in this video and it's gonna annoy me when I'm editing. However, I do also feel like it's unavoidable, so here goes nothing. This is the Melt Waiting Room palette. It came out in the Beetlejuice collection with another palette. This one, however, this color story, wow, this one really did it for me. Talk about a makeup boner, my friends. First of all, I love the movie Beetlejuice, so the fact that that collection came out and was Beetlejuice themed was really enough for me to be in love to begin with. But the truth of the matter is that this palette in particular not only contains some of my favorite tones, because I love reds and burgundies, but it also kind of just has everything that I want in a palette in its own way. The color story is challenging because it combines reds and grays, and who thinks to do that? Except apparently me today, because I'm wearing a gray sweater and I have a red streak in my hair. But you know what? Maybe this has been my aesthetic all along and I just didn't know. It also has a really bright matte shade and a really dark matte shade of black, which I think is key in a balanced palette that's going to give you a variety of looks. Between that and the theme and it being my favorite tones and the color story being a little bit challenging, but it makes sense and it works together, I love this palette. Also, Sandworm, this is one of the best almost whitish shades ever for an inner corner highlight. This color makes your inner corner look ungodly bright, but it's matte and it's amazing. And also it's so opaque. I have fucked up my black eyeliner, gone over it with this shade, and it covers the black eyeliner. It's insane. It is such a great color. Every color in here is a color that I enjoy, quite frankly, but weirdly enough, and I think I said this in one of the videos where I did looks with this palette, Sandworm, this off-white gray, is just delish. It's one of my favorite matte shades of the year, hands down. Another one of the best palettes of the year came from another one of the best collections of the year. This is the At Forest Sight palette by Colourpop and Raw Beauty Christie. The reason this palette is one of my favorites of the year is because I feel like this is a great palette if you love color but you don't want a rainbow look. Something about this palette is grounded in reality in a way that doesn't make your makeup look over the top, super bright, super colorful, but it's still rich and colorful and fun to play with. Everything in here plays nicely together. You could do a really, really, really nice neutral look with this, or you could do something really, really, really intense. Honestly, the Emerald City shade and the PNW shade together make such a beautiful blown out blue turquoise smoky eye. So, so, so pretty. And they're Colourpop pressed shadows, so without saying, the quality is fantastic and it was a great price, and I love this palette, and I think it's still sold out right now, and I don't know if they're going to bring it back, but I genuinely hope they do. Next up, we have two more Colourpop palettes. I won't dwell on these Colourpop palettes too long because I did do a Colourpop ranking video where we talked a lot about why I like these particular palettes. So if you want to watch that, I'll link it right up here on the screen. But first up, we have the Ornate palette. I absolutely love the color story of this palette. Like I mentioned when we were talking about Waiting Room, I really love burgundy tones, but the reason I love this one extra, first of all, is because the packaging is fantastic. This is gorgeous, but also because it's a little bit more interesting with this pop of mustard in there. I felt like the looks that I got out of this were really fun and really interesting, and I had a really good time not only doing the looks, but I also felt like really like I had like a cool girl feeling when I was wearing it, and I really enjoyed that. Like I felt like I could do a cut crease and it was like really structured and glam, but I still had like a little bit of a grungy flair, and it really just was like really doing it for me. I feel like this is one of the palettes that if I were to ever get to travel somewhere ever again, I might take this one with me. And from the same collection with the same beautiful packaging, just in a blue tone, is the Baroque palette. This one I also really enjoyed doing looks with, and I also really enjoyed wearing. It's a little bit different because I actually didn't think that I was going to be that stoked on this palette when I picked it up, but I picked it up because you guys wanted to see looks with it. And then when I got it, I was just taken away to another land where I suddenly loved the color blue. So blues that are a little bit closer to gray really do it for me. And also, I did mention this a billion times in the Colourpop ranking video, but I'm gonna say it again, the color Secret is like a periwinkle dusty gray blue with a little bit of violet shimmer in there, and oh my god, do I like that shade. I've worn this just pressed across my whole lid with a winged eyeliner, blended out with a couple of the other shades, and oh, I love it. Moving on now from the Colourpop portion of this video, because I just gotta shut up about Colourpop, is the Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette. I love this palette. And this is another one where I didn't think that I was gonna like it that much. I thought that I was gonna think it was okay. And as you can see, I have dug my grubby little fingers and paws in there 1,000 times at this point because the palette is just beat to hell. I did a whole video on this palette as well. I'll link that here too if you want to go watch that and see some looks with it so that you can get like a better idea of how these shades work, because they are a little bit unique and interesting. They're very textured, and although they aren't glitters, it is sort of a glitter-like experience in the sense that the particles of shimmer are different sizes and it gives the stone vibe, you know what I mean? It really does give like a crystallized, like encrusted sort of effect. I find that a lot of them make a beautiful wash of color by themselves, which I love. Because fun fact, on the days that I don't do my makeup for YouTube or Instagram, goddamn, I am lazy about how I actually do my makeup. Like I want to look good and I want to like have something fun on, but also I don't want to spend the time. So something that looks really, really good if I just push it into my inner corner or sweep it across my lid is like really where my bread is buttered, you know? There are 4 mattes in here. Personally, I would have preferred probably if they cut down the number of mattes that were in here, or even just got rid of them completely and made it just a palette of these stony kind of crusty is the worst way to describe an eyeshadow. Encrusted, jewel-like. Is that better? That's definitely better. But yeah, I think you could have definitely replaced those with some more shades of like what is clearly the meat and potatoes of this palette, and had an even better time, because quite frankly, I'm not using this with these 4 shades, you know, so I could have gone with more. However, still one of my favorite palettes of the year, and by far one of my most used palettes of the year. We're gonna end this list by dipping our big toes into neutral-ish territory, because the first choice is not actually neutral. This is the Melt 420 palette. This is what the palette looks like. It is clearly not a neutrals palette, but it has a lot of beautiful neutrals in it, and I love the neutrals in this palette in particular. Honestly, I love a lot of things in this palette. This bright yellow color wax is stunning. This palette is very interesting to me because it is almost all matte except for one shade. And honestly, I don't know if you need this shimmer in here, but I do like the shimmer and I have used it a lot, so I'm not complaining. The reason that this is on my list of favorite palettes of the year is because unexpectedly, I have been reaching for this palette when I just need to do a look to like live my life. And when you consider that I am literally right now sitting in a pile of eyeshadow palettes that I could reach for at any moment, the fact that I've reached for this one repeatedly to do my day-to-day makeup is like really saying something. And I think the reason for that is it has these neutrals that have so many different interesting tones in them. That's kind of why I wind up loving this so much, because obviously Melt has great quality eyeshadows, and also just like the subtle variety is like something I never knew I needed, but I did, you know? And now on to the true neutrals territory. This is the NABLA Side by Side Nudes palette, and I also did looks with this in a video. I think I've actually done looks in a video with every single one of these palettes. Maybe I should link them all in the description instead of just putting them up on the screen so you guys can go and watch those if you want to. But the reason that I put this in here is because, speaking of a variety of nudes, holy crap, this is like the best blend of nude shadows I think I've ever seen in a palette. It has like every single type of undertone of nude you could ever want. And the NABLA shadow formula is like one of my freaking favorites of all time, but it does have a great variety of textures in it, and it also has that same type of subtlety of undertones that makes the mattes really interesting, and really you can get like any mood that you want out of a neutral eyeshadow look, you could do it with this palette. NABLA shadows are also super, super pigmented, so what I sometimes like to do is dip into the black shade as an eyeliner and just like softly blend it out. So like I'll do a big wing like this, but a little bit more blendy, and I love this black for that. This black is called Untitled, and I also think the packaging is exactly what it should be for something like this. It's really sleek, it's really simple. I recall when I was doing the looks with this palette saying that it's not the most exciting because it is a neutrals palette, but really at the end of the day, sometimes like that's what we need more in our life, is like a not so exciting but like really solid neutrals palette, and this palette has proved itself to be that for me over the last few months. Oh man, I'm sweaty. Like, who works up a sweat talking about eyeshadow? What a weirdo. I need better antiperspirant or something. What the fuck? Those, in my opinion, are the best palettes of 2020. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what your favorite palettes of 2020 were. Like I said, I will also be talking about the worst palettes of 2020 in a video that will be coming very, very soon. So feel free to start thinking about what you think were the worst palettes of 2020, and I would love to discuss those soon as well. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, because it really helps me and I would very much appreciate it. Also, go find me on Instagram. I'm at Miss Quinface over there. If you haven't come over there and hung out with me already, I would love to have you. I update my stories all the time. I do some like quick lip looks on my reels, and also I sometimes post things that you won't see here on YouTube because they're like a little bit creative and weird, and people don't really seem to enjoy that type of content here as much as they do on Instagram for some reason. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate you hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next one.